Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress has pegged the price of its presidential nomination form at 100 million naira. Also, the nomination and expression of interest forms for those seeking the party's ticket to contest the governorship election in their respective states cost 50 million naira. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, made this known shortly after the 11th National Executive Meeting in Abuja on Wednesday. He, however, explained that women are entitled to free nomination forms but will pay for the expression of interest forms, adding that the sale of forms will commence on April 22, 2022. Meanwhile, several chieftains of the ruling party, including aides to President Muhammadu Buhari and serving governors, have indicated their interest to succeed him when its tenure ends in 2023. Well, to speak more on this, Ojo, political affairs analyst, joins us now on the news. Well, thank you for joining us on the news. Now, so after months of speculation, the APC has finally decided to go with the indirect mode, leaving candidates both at the presidential and governorship levels to test their popularity among party members. Now, with a long list of aspirants, how do you see this playing out?
Well, I think it's more democratic to go indirect than to go consensus. And I'm really, I should say I'm happy that APC decided to adopt either direct or indirect and forgo the issue of consensus, which has torn the party apart since last year when it held its congresses, and even more recently, last month when it held its national convention. So I'm glad in that the fate of the president or the presidential candidate of APC will be determined by 7,800 delegates who have already emerged during the forthcoming the presidential primary coming up sometimes in May. I think May 29, 30, or 31st. It's a welcome development. This is what many of us have been waiting for, because as the ruling party, the APC sets the pace for others to follow. And I just look forward to a credible party primaries. Suffice to say that Electoral 2022 has mandated all registered political parties who wants to conduct their primaries to submit the list of their members, both in hard and soft copy, to INEC 30 days to the election. 30 days to the primaries. So I do hope that APC will be in full compliance and will submit to INEC before the end of, May 28 or 29, depending on when it intended to, before May, when it intended to start its party primaries. It has to submit both hard and soft copy of its party members list to INEC. So they also have to give INEC 21 days notice before the primaries will be held. As regards the issue of nomination fee, this is a new height. Recall that in 2014, APC charged 27.5 million for presidential candidates, for presidential aspirants. And in 2018, ahead of 2019 election, it charged 45 million for presidential aspirants. Now it has taken it to 100 million. Any of the juggernauts who have already declared their intention should be able to pay this because many of them are former governors or people who are very successful in their own right. Is it Yahya Bello that shouldn't be able to pay, or Jagaban, who is a billionaire in dollars, or our vice president whose asset as of 2015 was close to 1 billion naira in his asset declaration form, or Rotimi Amici, who has served as two-time Speaker of Rivers State House of Assembly, two-time Governor of Rivers State, and now two-time Minister under the current administration.
Now,
so all of them are capable of paying the 100 million. And I think it's just to reduce the number of aspirants that amount was charged, so that there won't be too many aspirants under APC.
Well, still talking about the nomination forms, just before the APC chairmanship elections, aspirants had purchased nomination forms but were later made to adopt a consensus candidate. Now, do you see that same scenario playing out later?
And I shouldn't encourage them to take the consensus option. It's not going to work. It's going to be counterproductive. Mary, you cannot put down 100 million, buy the nomination forms, campaign. Already we've seen Rotimi Amechi going around the traditional rulers and states canvassing for their support. This costs a lot of resources. And then sometimes when they now have to go for the primary, somebody will now say, step down and let's go for consensus. Well, they can explore the possibility of reducing the number among themselves. We should also be mindful of the fact that having a consensus arrangement under the current electoral 2022 is more cumbersome than what operates within the APC as a party. In APC, as a party, you possibly don't need to formally write to withdraw your aspiration. You also don't need to endorse. But right now, under the electoral 2022, you not only have to formally write to withdraw from the race, you also must endorse the so-called consensus candidate. And aside from these two, you also must note that this what about who reimburses the loss, the money that each of these aspirants may have incurred, the cost they have incurred in the course of their electioneering campaign ahead of the party primaries.
Well,
So in order not to create
I'm afraid I would have to cut you here. For want of time, I'm afraid I'll have to cut you here. Ojo, Political Affairs Analyst, thank you very much for joining us on the news and for your contribution.